Hello everyone, I'm Singbe Park, a philosopher of science at UNIST, Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. In this video, I briefly summarize Chapter 1 of my book, Embracing Scientific Realism. The target viewers of this video are the philosophers of science who have already published and aim to publish more on scientific realism. The no miracles argument and the pessimistic induction have dominated the scientific realism debate since the 1970s. The no miracles argument is regarded as the strongest argument for scientific realism, and the pessimistic induction is regarded as the strongest argument for scientific anti-realism. In Chapter 1, I explicate the no miracles argument and reply to several standard objections to it. Let me first clarify some technical terms that figure in the no miracles argument. To say that a scientific theory is successful means that it explains and predicts a lot of phenomena. To say that a theory is approximately true means that it is false, but it is close to the truth. For example, if it is completely true that Bill Clinton is 180.1 centimeter, it is approximately true that he is 180 centimeter. Let me make two comments about the notion of approximate truth. First, an approximately true statement might be more useful than a completely true statement. Second, scientific anti-realists cannot dismiss the notion of approximate truth because some observational statements can only be said to be approximately true. Scientific realism is the view that successful scientific theories, such as the oxygen theory, the kinetic theory, the special theory of relativity, and evolutionary theory, are true or approximately true. Scientific anti-realism is any position that opposes scientific realism. A distinctive feature of scientific realism thus defined is that it denies that successful current theories will be replaced by alternatives in the future, i.e., it denies that successful current theories will succumb to scientific revolutions. Why should we believe scientific realism? In other words, why should we believe that successful theories are true? Realists constructed the no miracles argument to answer this question. It goes like this. Science is a successful enterprise. Thanks to science, we can explain why a solar eclipse occurs, we can predict when the next solar eclipse will occur, and we can produce new crops. There can be two rival hypotheses explaining the success of science. The first hypothesis is that successful scientific theories are true, which implies that a miracle didn't occur. The second hypothesis is that successful scientific theories are false, which implies that a miracle occurred. A hypothesis invoking a miracle is bad. Therefore, scientific realism best explains the success of science. Let me now reply to several standard objections to the no miracles argument. Laudan objects that many successful theories turned out to be false in the history of science. He presents the infamous list of past theories. He thinks that the past theories on this list are counterexamples to scientific realism. My response to Laudan's objection is to point out that it is compatible with scientific realism. Strictly speaking, scientific realism doesn't say that all successful theories are true. It rather says that most successful theories are true. So scientific realism is not refuted by the historical fact that some successful theories turned out to be false. Some anti-realists reject the no miracles argument on the ground that the success of science doesn't need to be explained, i.e., the success of science doesn't cry out for an explanation. How do I respond to this objection? Suppose biologists explain biological phenomena. Physicists come along and reject biologists' explanation, saying biological phenomena don't need to be explained. We can say that physicists' response is inadequate. Similarly, we can say that anti-realist response to the no miracles argument is inadequate. Some anti-realists object that the no miracles argument begs the question against anti-realists. The idea is that some anti-realists think that inference to the best explanation, IBE, is not rationally compelling. But the no miracles argument uses IBE to establish scientific realism, so it is not rationally compelling to them. My response to this objection is to point out that the anti-realists who raised the objection use IBE themselves to explain the success of science. For example, they suggest that science is successful because scientific theories result from robust methods. A theory is successful because it is disposed to be successful. We can rationally reject these explanations because they rely on IBE. Some anti-realists suggest that science is successful because successful theories survive and unsuccessful ones die. This explanation appeals to Darwin's evolutionary theory to explain the success of science. My response to this objection is to point out that evolutionary theory is a scientific theory, so it is self-defeating to appeal to evolutionary theory to undermine scientific realism. You cannot appeal to a scientific theory to argue that scientific theories are unbelievable. According to psychologists, we tend to believe that there were dramatic changes in our past lives, but there will be no dramatic changes in our future lives. We are under the cognitive illusion called the end of history illusion, that the present is the moment when eventful lives end and uneventful lives begin. Some anti-realists claim that we should reject scientific realism because it originates from the end of history illusion. My response to this objection is to point out that it commits the genetic fallacy and that it is self-defeating to appeal to a psychological hypothesis to discredit scientific realism. Some anti-realists object that scientific realism is an ad hoc hypothesis because it explains the success of science, but it doesn't explain other phenomena. Scientific realism is similar to the famous ad hoc hypothesis in the history of science that opium puts people to sleep because it has a domative virtue. My response to this objection is to point out that scientific realism was originally proposed to explain why some theories are successful, but it unexpectedly explains new phenomena, namely why such theories exist in current science. According to scientific realism, successful theories exist in current science because scientists accepted true theories and rejected false theories. In sum, scientific realism explains not only why some theories are successful, but also why such theories exist in current science. So scientific realism is not an ad hoc hypothesis. Empiricism is the view that a successful theory is empirically adequate. Empiricists might suggest that a theory is successful because it is empirically adequate. Let me clarify this suggestion. To say that a theory is successful implies that some of its observational consequences are true. By contrast, to say that a theory is empirically adequate is to say that all of its observational consequences are true. Therefore, to say that a theory is successful because it is empirically adequate is like saying, according to Alan Musgrave, some crows are black because all crows are black. Some realists pointed out that the empiricist explanation is circular. Suppose there are two crows, C1 and C2 in the world. Why is C1 black? To say that it is black because all crows are black is to say that it is black because C2 is black. Now, why is C2 black? To say that it is black because all crows are black is to say that it is black because C1 is black. But it is circular to say that C1 is black because C2 is black, and C2 is black because C1 is black. Surrealism asserts that observables behave as if a theory were true. Surrealists suggest that a theory is successful because observables behave as if it were true. Many philosophers regard surrealism as a serious alternative to scientific realism. My response to the surrealist explanation is to point out that scientists should be creative and work hard to come up with a successful theory. To say that a theory is successful because observables operate as if it were true fails to recognize scientists' creativity and hard work. After all, the surrealist explanation implies that a theory is successful not due to its semantic property, but rather due to the way observables operate. Some antirealists suggest that a false theory is successful because it is predictably similar to a true theory. For example, the Ptolemaic theory was successful because it was predictably similar to the Copernican theory. This proposal has several problems. Let me mention only two of them. First, how about the success of a true theory? It is vacuous to say that a true theory is successful because it is predictably similar to itself. Second, consider the explanation that the Earth is round because it is similar to Mars with respect to shape. This explanation is inadequate because the Earth is round independently of whether Mars is round. Similarly, the anti-realist explanation is inadequate because a false theory is successful independently of whether a true theory is successful. I just summarized Chapter 1 of my book, Embracing Scientific Realism. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.